On this episode, we talk about a roadmap to college recruiting, college ID camps, and which college showcase tournaments suck. What's up, everybody? This is Ray Sanders. It is episode number 15. We're getting after it today. Executive producers in the house, as usual. Reagan and Ray, how are you guys?
Ray, good. Amazing. Pretty good.
Pretty good. Sweet. So we had an awesome weekend. NPL started for the 03 boys. We had all kinds of stuff that went on. But listen, the bottom line is this, is I want to give a quick shout out to the boys 04 Aztecs team. Don't hit the table. Boys 04 Aztecs team. They won State Cup this past weekend in the President's Division. I'm extremely thrilled for them. I also want to have a quick little recognition for a guy named Keenan Bryant. Within this community, I've talked to a lot of people over the years, and within the community, I've had a lot of people say things like, we need to unite the clubs, we need to do what's in the best interest of the kids, it's all about the kids, etc. Then when things are presented, sometimes they don't actually go in that direction and they operate in a different way. Maybe even I am guilty of that. But I will give a quick shout out to Keenan. A few years ago, he wanted to bring over a team, or potentially bring over a team, to be a part of our U.S. Development Academy program. He had his own club. It was called TFA Bakersfield. He had his own club, multiple teams, dozens, maybe hundreds of kids that he had within his organization, and he dissolved it because when we talked about what was in the best interest of the kids, we both agreed that we felt that the academy opportunities were the best. He dissolved it, came over here. He probably made as big of a sacrifice as I've seen in this community before. And now this past weekend, the majority of those boys, I think almost all of them, but the majority of the boys that he brought over, they were a part of the state championship yesterday. Certainly their coach Troy, other guys involved, Artie, etc. But at the end of the day, he made a huge sacrifice. Shout out to him. Shout out to the boys. Shout out to that team. It was awesome. Huge accomplishment. They're going to kick some booty in Utah. So I'm pumped about that. What else? We had an ODP event last night. That was kind of fun. However, it was extremely cold. I was freezing last night. That's right. We have NPL still coming up this weekend. We got all kinds of things. Big thing is we got tryouts tonight for the boys. We had to cancel it because of all the rain that was going on Saturday, so we canceled our tryouts. A lot of activity going on. We have a fan from Colorado. That was nuts. Yep.
LA.
Some dude from LA hit me up too. A different guy said, hey, I've been watching your shows. Keep it going. Some dude from Colorado. It's kind of cool.
Awesome.
We're literally only doing this show just to bring value to the Bakersfield community. But we are expanding outside of Bakersfield. It literally, I don't even know what that does for us. It doesn't really do anything, but it's still fun. Because we are up to at least 23 fans.
No way.
Stop being dumb. I'm just kidding. I love you. All right, cool. So that's pretty much it. Well, the whole episode today is going to be about college recruiting. I'm going to try to make it quick. I got to take these knuckleheads home. I offered them a milkshake if we could get through this quickly. So let's get after it. Let's rock and roll.
What does the college recruiting roadmap look like from year to year?
So I'm definitely not going to be able to answer this question within a certain amount of time. However, and because I'm trying to keep it limited. However, I do want to just throw out there a couple of different aspects and things that you should really be doing. One of the big things that you should not be doing is worrying about it all that much when your child is a 5th grader, a 6th grader, a 7th grader. You should only be worrying about development. One of the things that has always surprised me is that, for the most part, the college recruiting timeline or window really opens and closes rather quickly, but the development timeline goes from 5 until 18. So you want to continuously focus on developing and continuing to get good in that sense. But when it comes to the college recruiting aspects, I would start to educate myself maybe as a parent, 8th grade, 9th grade year. First thing that you got to remember is that every single grade from 9th grade on is going to be on a permanent transcript. Many people know this. Some of this stuff I'm going to say is going to sound condescending, but I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So kids get straight Fs in 8th grade. It really has no impact, to be blunt. It has no impact on whether or not you're going to be able to get to college. If you get 1 C and all the rest A's as a freshman, that C stays with you even when you're a senior in high school. So you really want to be consciously aware of that. Other aspects, something that is kind of surprising to me sometimes is that kids don't start taking their SATs until their senior year. I would definitely take my PSAT as a sophomore SAT as a junior, and then obviously again as a senior. Probably between my junior senior year, I would take it 3 times, but I would definitely consult with your school counselor as it pertains to that. You want to make sure that you're taking all of the required classes in order to be able to do that. I've had kids tell me like, oh, I got a 3.3 GPA, 3.5 GPA, and then you come to find out that they're taking below grade level classes. That's no good. So you got to be making sure that you're taking all the right classes in order to be able to get recruited. GPAs, let's talk about that. One of the first things is that within the NCAA clearinghouse, which does change from time to time, they have a sliding scale and certain minimums. I don't know what the minimum is anymore, but the lower your GPA is, the higher the SAT score that you need. Similar fashion, your higher GPA means the lower the SAT score. It's somewhere within the realm of there. I think you have to have something like a 2.3 GPA. If you know the actual answer, maybe you could put it in the comments, but somewhere around a 2.3 GPA and a 900 or an 800 on your SATs. Here's the bottom line, is that if you're getting something like a 2.3, the reason why I don't know, something around a 2.3 GPA and somebody else has a 3.5 GPA, that kid's going to get recruited before you do. That's the real reality of that. That's why I don't, the kids that are getting 2.3 GPA typically are not the kids that are going to be college bound to a 4-year university straight away. They're probably going to have to go to a junior college where they don't have the same requirements. Additionally, NAIA schools, which is separate from the NCAA, they also don't have any type of, they don't have the same type of rules and regulations as it pertains to GPAs. So you really need to be getting nothing less than a 3.0. The higher the GPA, the better. But you really need to get nothing less than a 3.0, in my estimation 3.3, and then obviously making sure that you take your SAT seriously. Now, the big difference is that as a freshman, I would start to potentially identify 20 to 30 different types of colleges that you want to go to. I would consult with your soccer coach and be very realistic and practical with what type of level that you're probably going to be playing at. I think I've talked about it before, but you get these kids. I've talked to kids where it's like they don't even start on my team. I ask them to make me a list. They give me UCLA, UC Santa Barbara, all Division I schools. Then you have to have a hard conversation with them. Be practical. What is your objective as far as going off to college? And then you start to reach out to these college coaches. We have a program that's called College Fit Finder. We're going to have an education night in a couple of weeks about that. But I like that program. I would be very weary about spending a lot of money. So we bought this program for all the members within our club. They don't have to pay anything for it. I'd be very weary about buying all these different types of programs that are out there that cost a lot of money. I would only buy something that's proven. So, and then ultimately the window for girls wise, I would say it's really starts sophomore year and then it concludes almost by your junior year. There's exceptions to that in terms of girls going into their senior year that haven't made decisions yet, but verbal commitments are happening by the end of their junior year. Verbal commitments typically for boys are happening at the beginning of their senior year, and then the spring, usually sometime around February of their senior year, they sign their letter of intent. So it's a wide variety of different aspects of that. There's no like black and white, this is when it happens, but sophomore and junior year are critical for girls. End of the year are critical for girls. All of their junior year and part of their senior year is critical for boys. And so that's kind of the landscape of it. Tons more to add to it, but that's a general roadmap, I guess, that you can kind of look at.
What do you think about college ID camps?
So this is an excellent question. My opinions on this are very strong, mostly because of the lack of education that parents have about this. So when I think about the whole reason why we started this show or this educational series thing that we're trying to do, really this type of question is why I did it. So college ID camps. The probability that you go to a college ID camp that costs $750 and you're there for 2 or 3 days and you're going to get recruited and go there because of that and that alone is slim to none. So people go to these very expensive college ID camps because they want to be able to go to that college. However, the reality is that they're not even sometimes recruiting from some of these schools. Every college is going to tell you that they recruit from it. It's a college ID camp, etc., etc. Other people will say stuff like, well, you never know, and that's true. You never know. The problem is of why I don't like college ID camps is that it is really Some of them are to supplement the income of the assistant coaches within the university. You can usually identify whether or not it's a moneymaker versus it's an actual recruitment camp based upon the price. So to give you a couple of examples, when the camp is more than like $500 and it's, you know, whatever it may be, maybe if you're staying there and you're paying for food and you're paying for other things, maybe it's worth it. But when you're paying $700 to be there for 2 days, and you're paying for food or whatever it may be, and I mean, it's probably, bottom line is, because I don't want to bash programs, the bottom line is that they're probably not using it to recruit kids from. Now, there's other programs. One college that I know of in Southern California, their assistant coach told me they have $0 in their budget to recruit at tournaments, and that everything is just from their college ID camp. And that they ultimately will, I think their camp is like $50 or something like that, and they'll get kids to come into their camp, and that's how it is that they identify it. So that's the biggest difference between the two. Is you can kind of look at the prices. CSUB men's program the other night had an ID camp. I think that was $50. They're not doing that to make money. I think that they have to do that as far as keep up with some of the NCAA rules in terms of charging some type of a fee there. But the reality is that they're not doing it to make money. They're doing it to identify talent and to be able to work with those kids. So now that's the second part of why I do like camps, is because it's the best way to get close interaction with the coach. The coach is going to like it a lot more because they're going to be able to coach you a little bit. They're going to be able to maybe put you against some of their college players, and they'll be able to really measure you properly. Usually what ends up happening is when you're at a college showcase type of a tournament, they look at you, you did good, maybe it was a good day, on and on it goes, but they want to be able to bring you into their camp and really be able to work with you. Now, some colleges will say, hey, we want you to come to our camp. It's $350 or $500 maybe, and they genuinely want to be able to look at you from it. Does that mean that college camp is a scam? Absolutely not. I do see value in college camps, but I think that the overall aspect is it a true ID camp, or is it a ID camp that they're basically trying to make money from? If you're a part of our club, even if you're not a part of our club and you want to reach out, then I will give you my best assessment as far as that goes. I've asked this specific question to like 10 of my friends that coach at 10 different universities, and they all have given me roughly a different answer. But when I've pulled back the layers and kind of said, yeah, but what about this, or yeah, but what about that, they've all pretty much said in essence what it is that I'm saying. Some colleges use it as a major recruiting tool. Some colleges use it basically just to make money, and they'll recruit a kid, of course, if there's talent, but they actually won't bring him in. That's the bottom line. You have to assess it. You have to figure it out. Some are good or some are bad. I'd take some advice from a director of your club.
What are the best college showcase tournaments to go to?
So this is an excellent question. Here's the first thing. The best events to go to are events that nobody in our community are a part of. The number one recruiting event in the country are the showcases at the academy. It's just the reality. That's the way that it goes. Like, we're not a part of the academy program in that sense. We have to find ways to get our kids recruited, but that is the number one tool in the United States, especially Division I, that kids are getting recruited from, the academy showcases and or academy events. Now, let's throw that off the table because, as an example, we're not an academy. Nobody in our community is. So what's the second best things? The second best thing I would say for sure would be Surf Cup, for sure for boys, and realistically for boys and girls. That's the number one college showcase event from the majority of the college coaches that I've talked to, even the college coaches that'll say we pretty much only recruit from academy and Surf Cup. So I think that my personal opinion in the actual quality of Surf Cup is really watered down. It's not what it used to be. When I was a kid, that was the academy event, so to speak, because it was the best. Now I don't think it's that good. Dallas Cup used to be a huge event. When I've gone in the past now, I don't see any college coaches there. So in terms of college showcases, I think that you have this upper group that would be like Surf Cup, Player Showcase, maybe Davis, November nights, maybe. Those ones are really solid. The other ones, just because it says college showcase tournament, doesn't mean it is or isn't. Just because they put on a bunch of college names doesn't mean it. I have a friend of mine who was at a particular event. I saw his name on the list. I hit him up and I said, hey man, where are you at? What field are you at today? Blah, blah, blah. He basically told me that he wasn't actually recruiting. He literally put his name on there, registered, got a free hotel room, did not recruit at a single game. So that was in Vegas. So don't go solely based upon what it is that you see as far as that list goes, because sometimes there are college coaches that the tournament the tournament convinced to put their name on there, and then they just came, they coached their games, and then they bounced. They weren't even actually recruiting. So I like Player Showcase. I like Davis. Albion, I think, is good. Legends has a pretty good one. LA Premier FC also has a good one. One tournament that I'm against, by the way, and I like this club organization, I like the people there, but I am actually against it, is Nomads. I think that Nomads for Thanksgiving weekend is a bad choice of use of money. You should try and get into Surf Cup first, November night second, probably the Silver Lakes tournament for the girls third. I think November Nights and Silver Lakes are kind of competing. If you're boys for third, I would go to Vegas. That's pretty much it for Thanksgiving. If you cannot get into those 3 tournaments or whatever it may be, I would save my money. I'd spend some time with my family Thanksgiving weekend. I'd get ready for high school, and then that's it. One of the unfortunate things, on a side note, that's really unfortunate for California, especially Southern California, is that our high school season goes on during the winter. Good college showcase tournaments in Vegas, in Arizona, certainly Disney Showcase that goes on in Florida during the winter time, but our kids play in the high school season. So those are really good college showcase tournaments, if you're listening in Colorado, that I would definitely try to go to as well. So college showcase tournaments are different, though, than what it is that when I was a kid. When I was a kid, you created a resume. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. You created a resume, you went to a college showcase tournament, which, by the way, when I was a kid, Nomads was one of the best, if not the best, way better than Surf Cup. You would go to a college showcase tournament, have your resume, go and play as hard as you can. College coaches would get a chair, plop down their chair, they'd watch a game, they'd identify a couple of players, and then that was really it. They maybe went to some games that a kid wrote a letter to, or a kid wrote a letter to that coach, so then that coach goes to that game. But outside of that, that was really it. And you sat by your mailbox waiting for a letter. Nowadays, when you go to Davis, when you go to Players, when you go to Surf, when you go to Legends, when you go to Silver Lakes, when you go to LA Premier FC, when you go to Albion, when you go to even Dallas Cup, when you go to the Academy Showcase, when you go to all these different things, you have to be a squeaky wheel and get some attention. You have to get the college coach's attention. You have to identify their school. Why do you want to go to their school? Communicate with the college coach. Fight for that coach to come out and watch you. And you have to do that 10, 20 times. Because out of the 20 coaches that are at the event, maybe 5 of them are going to ask. You got to do your work, do your due diligence. They will not just get a chair and plop it down, watch you and say, hey, here's a $20,000 scholarship or whatever it may be. You have to do your work. So that is, aside from the college showcase tournaments, those are the ones that I like. You could go to Surf Cup, not talk to a single coach, go to Players, not talk to a single coach, and nobody's going to recruit you. You can go to Davis, and maybe there's 20 coaches that are there, and you end up talking to 12 of them, get 12 of them to come to your game, and that was actually a more successful event than to go to the other one. So squeaky wheel here gets the oil. Attention, attention, attention. You got to get in front of them. Don't get overhyped about connections. Create your own connections. Go out and communicate with the coaches. Do your due diligence, and that will make whatever college showcase tournament that you go to the best. Guess what's probably going to happen if they come and watch you and they like you? What are they going to do? We're having an ID camp in May. We're having an ID camp at such and such time. You should come. We'd like to look at you a little bit more. So this is kind of the process. Get good grades, communicate to the coaches, go to college showcase tournaments. They invite you to come to their camps, and then at some point or another, they'll make a decision on you, and they'll clearly communicate with you. So that's it. Awesome, guys. So we're way over the time allotted. We got to finish this up. At the end of the day, I hope that brought a little bit of value to you guys. I'm certainly not a college coach. These are just some of my past experiences. This is more practical advice, if you will, things that I think that will actually help you. You're going to have a lot of people that are going to tell you a lot of stuff. There's other things to talk about, videos, junior college versus 4-year, Division I versus Division III, scholarships. We might do a follow-up episode. If this episode brought you any value, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe. Spin all over the place. Don't forget to subscribe, right, Reagan?
Right.
You got to subscribe. So we need you to subscribe from wherever it is that you are. Reach out to us via email, via text, via comments. If this brought value to you, let us know. We can do a follow-up episode about college recruiting. Anything that you guys want to know, ray7sanders@gmail.com. That's Ray7 Sanders, like the Colonel. Thank you guys. Other than that, we'll see you next episode. Peace.